The day the office turned on me, it didn't happen all at once. It happened in glances. Whispers that stopped when I entered the room. Laughter that died mid-breath. Smiles that slid off faces like masks slipping out of place. I'd walked in with my coffee and confidence, ready to present the biggest project of my career. Instead, I walked into an invisible wall, one built of silence and suspicion. People wouldn't meet my eyes. Even my boss, who used to greet me like a friend, just nodded, tight-lipped, like she knew something I didn't. By lunch, I was the office ghost. By 3 p.m., I was the office scandal. When my manager called me into her office, I already felt the air change, heavier, colder. She didn't offer me a seat at first, just slid a manila folder across the desk like it might explode. Inside, screenshots, fake emails, and a letter supposedly written by me trashing the company online. My stomach dropped. Every line was a lie. And I knew exactly who had written them. There it was, at the corner of one screenshot, barely visible, a username. His username, Greg, my ex. The man who once swore he wanted me to succeed. The same man who told me I'd be nothing without him. We'd broken up months ago, after I got promoted first. He couldn't stand it. Couldn't stand me winning. And now here he was, trying to take everything I'd earned and burn it to ashes. My boss's voice blurred into background noise. Something about formal investigation and possible temporary suspension. I barely heard her. I could only hear my pulse pounding in my ears, the same beat that used to rise whenever Greg started one of his "you made me do this" rants. But this time was different, because this time, I wasn't cornered. I left her office holding that folder like a weapon. Around me, the office hummed, phones ringing, printers whirring, my coworkers pretending not to stare. But I wasn't their gossip anymore. I was their ghost, the one they'd buried too soon. I paused at my desk, my reflection flickering on the monitor. I looked calm, composed, dead wrong. Inside, something sharp and steady had already taken root. Greg wanted a war? He just declared it. I thought finding his username would be the end of it. I was wrong. The next morning, I showed up to the weekly strategy meeting, the one I'd been leading for 6 months, only to find Sarah standing at the front of the room with my slides on the screen. My slides. With my name in the footer. "Oh, didn't you get the email?" Sarah wouldn't meet my eyes. "Greg said you'd requested to step back this week." Greg, my ex, who now worked at a failing startup 3 buildings over, but he knew people here. I'd introduced them at the holiday party back when I still thought we had a future. My hands were shaking. I pressed them flat against my thighs under the conference table. I pulled out my phone. No email, no calendar update, nothing. I scrolled through my inbox twice while everyone stared at me like I was losing it. My face was getting hot, that awful flush creeping up my neck. I started, but my boss cut me off. "We can discuss this later. Let's keep moving." Her voice was clipped, the same tone she'd used last month when she fired someone. She was wearing her burgundy dress, the one she saved for difficult conversations. I sat through that meeting watching Sarah completely mangle my presentation. She stumbled over the projections, got the percentage wrong. It was 23%, not 32%. My face flushed hot with humiliation while my colleagues exchanged glances. Nobody corrected her. After, I checked my laptop. The meeting invite had been there yesterday. I'd copied it. But now, gone. Deleted from my calendar entirely. Someone had access to my accounts. I changed every password that night. Email, work login, everything I could think of. But it didn't stop. 3 days later, my client pitch file opened with a corrupted error message. 2 weeks of work, gone. The backup was corrupted too. Then came the email forward. A professional client email I'd sent got forwarded to my entire department, but not my version. A draft version full of typos I'd never written. Dear Mr. Carson, when his name was Carson. Looking forward instead of forward. Just wanted to loop everyone in on the real email before the client sees it. The sender? Anonymous. My face went hot, burning. I could feel sweat at my hairline. My coworkers started looking at me differently after that, not with pity anymore, with doubt. Jessica from accounting stopped inviting me to lunch. Mark from sales started directing his questions to other people. Was I cracking? Was I really this disorganized? Was I going insane? Then I remembered. This was exactly what Greg used to do. When we were together, he'd move my keys, then find them in my purse. Babe, you really need to slow down. He'd cancel plans we'd made. I never said Saturday. You must be thinking of something else. He'd tell me I said things I never said. Why are you being so defensive? You're always doing this. Gaslighting. That's what my therapist called it after the breakup. He's making you question your own reality, so you'll depend on his version of the truth. And now he was doing it again. But this time he wasn't just messing with my head. He was destroying my career. I sat in my car after work, hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles were white and bloodless. My phone buzzed, an email from an address I didn't recognize. Subject line, "You should have stayed quiet." My stomach dropped. Did you really think you could just move on? Act like I didn't exist? You embarrassed me in front of everyone at that party with your promotion and your new title. Now, everyone's gonna see what you really are. A fraud who can't even manage her own career. This is just the beginning. My jaw clenched so hard I could feel the pressure in my temples. And then, at the bottom, remember that story you told me about your first boss? The one who said you'd never make it? The one who made you cry in the bathroom? Guess what? I remember too, and I've been very generous sharing it. My hands started trembling. That story. I'd told him that story one night after too much wine, back when I thought he was someone I could trust. About Mr. Patterson calling me into his office my second week and telling me I wasn't cut out for this industry. About locking myself in the bathroom stall and sobbing. Greg had held me. That guy's an asshole. You're amazing. I'd believed him. Now he'd taken my vulnerability, my private shame, and weaponized it. My throat felt tight, my eyes were burning, but I wasn't going to cry. Not here. This wasn't random harassment. This wasn't just some petty ex. This was planned, calculated, personal. He'd shown me exactly how far he was willing to go, which meant I knew exactly how far I needed to go to stop him. My hands steadied, just like that. I saved the email, took screenshots, backed them up to 2 different drives, and then I started planning. Chapter 3: Digital Breadcrumbs. The thing about vindictive exes is they always think they're smarter than you. Greg had spent our entire relationship explaining things to me like I was stupid. Let me handle the tech stuff, babe. You wouldn't understand how this works. He had no idea I'd been paying attention. I started with the fake complaints. Someone had been posting lies about me online. Anonymous reviews claiming I was a terrible manager, that I stole credit, that I created a hostile workplace. All posted between 2 and 4 a.m. Greg was a night owl, always had been. Used to text me at 3 a.m. when we were together, then get pissed when I didn't respond. You're always asleep when I need you. The writing was identical in every post, short sentences, the same phrases over and over. At the end of the day, moving forward, Greg's phrases, the ones he'd used constantly. I'd started counting them once during dinner, 47 times in one conversation. My hands were shaking as I took screenshots, but this time it wasn't fear. It was rage with a purpose. Next, I needed to see those anonymous emails again, the ones HR had shown my boss. I waited until she left for lunch, watched her walk to the elevator with her gym bag. That meant she'd be gone at least an hour. My heart was pounding. This was stupid. This was career suicide if anyone caught me. But I slipped into her office. The folder was still on her desk. I took photos with my phone. Fast. 3 emails, 6 photos total. Back at my desk, I studied them. Different email addresses, but the same writing style, the same opening. It has come to my attention. Greg's favorite line. He'd used it in every argument we'd ever had. Then I saw something that made my stomach drop. One email mentioned a client meeting that hadn't been announced yet. A pitch scheduled for next Friday. Only 5 people in the company knew about it. I was one of them. Someone here was feeding Greg information. My jaw clenched. I looked around the office. 40 people at their desks. Any one of them could be. Jessica from accounting glanced up, caught me staring, looked away too quickly. Mark from sales was on his phone, typing, smiling at whatever he was reading. Sarah was at her desk, looking guilty about something. I couldn't trust anyone, but I kept digging. One email had a typo in the closing. Sincerely instead of sincerely. Greg always misspelled that word, always. I used to correct him and he'd snap at me. It's just a typo, babe. Stop being so anal. I was building a case, piece by piece. Then, that afternoon, everything changed. I got a message from my cloud storage app. Someone had tried to access my account. From Greg's neighborhood. The attempt failed because I'd changed my passwords, but he'd tried. He'd actually tried to break into my files. My face flushed hot. He was getting desperate. I screenshot the notification, added it to my evidence folder. An hour later, my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Stop digging or it gets worse. My hands started shaking. The phone almost slipped. He was watching me, right now. Somehow, he knew what I was doing. I looked around the office. Everyone looked normal, busy, focused, but someone here was his spy. I stood up, grabbed my bag, walked to the bathroom on shaky legs, locked myself in a stall. The same stall where I used to cry after my old boss tore me apart. The same place I'd hidden during my first panic attack at this job. I wasn't crying this time. I pulled up my ex-roommate's number. Maya. She worked in IT at a tech company downtown. We'd lived together for 2 years before she got married. I need help, I typed. Someone's harassing me online and I need to prove who it is. Her response came back in 30 seconds. Say no more. Coffee after work? I saved Greg's threatening text, screenshot it, backed it up 3 different ways. He wanted me to stop digging? He had no idea what he'd just done, because now I knew he was scared. And scared people make mistakes. The kind of mistakes that destroy them. Maya took one look at the evidence and whistled low. Girl, your ex is unhinged. We were sitting in a corner booth at the coffee shop near my office. I'd spread everything out, screenshots, threatening texts, notes about timing. Maya studied each piece like she was solving a puzzle. She'd always been the calm one, the problem solver. This is harassment, she said finally. Actual criminal harassment. With what proof? Anonymous emails? My jaw clenched. He's been careful. Except the writing style, the timestamps, the threat. Maya tapped one screenshot. He slipped up here. I still can't prove it's him. Not yet. She pulled out her laptop. But here's what we know. He's getting information about your work. Someone's feeding it to him. My stomach twisted. Stop watching everyone. Start testing them. Her expression was serious. Feed different information to different people. See what gets back to Greg. I thought about Sarah, Jessica, Mark, the way everyone looked at me now, with doubt, with distance. Okay, I said. What do I do? The next morning, I started planting seeds. To Sarah, I mentioned a fake client meeting. Big pitch Thursday with Hendrix Corp. To Jessica, I said I was taking Friday off. Doctor's appointment. To Mark, I dropped that I was interviewing at a competitor. Just exploring options. Don't tell anyone. 3 different lies. 3 different people. Then I waited. My hands were shaking all day. But underneath the anxiety was something else. Anticipation. By Wednesday afternoon, I had my answer. My boss called me in, her face tight. "Is it true you're interviewing with Brennan Solutions?" My heart stopped. "Mark." "No," I said carefully. "I'm not interviewing anywhere." She studied my face. "An anonymous tip said you were planning to leave and take clients with you." My face flushed hot. "That's completely false." "I'm starting to think all of this is false." She sat back. "Someone's been feeding me lies for weeks, and I've been believing them." Something in her tone had shifted. "Someone's orchestrating this. The question is who and why." "I know who," I said quietly. "My ex, Greg Brennan." Her eyebrows shot up. "The guy from the holiday party?" I pulled out my phone, showed her the threatening text, the 3 a.m. timestamps, the identical writing, the complaint mentioning insider information. "He's got someone here helping him, feeding him my schedule, my projects, everything." My boss picked up her phone. "Who's Mark been talking to lately?" Turns out, Mark and Greg played basketball together. Had for years. Greg had worked that friendship, asked casual questions. "How's work?" "How's she doing?" "She seems stressed." And Mark had answered, shared details about my projects, my meetings, my schedule. "I didn't think I was doing anything wrong," Mark said when my boss pulled him in. His face was pale. "He said he was worried about you, that you'd been acting erratic." My hands curled into fists. My face felt like it was on fire. "You told my ex-boyfriend about confidential client information?" "I didn't know he was using it to—" Mark looked sick. "The emails, the complaints, that was all—" "Him," I finished. "Using information you gave him." "Get out," my boss said coldly. After Mark left, my boss looked at me. "What do you need?" "Everything he sent you, every email, every complaint, official copies, time-stamped." She nodded. "You'll have them by end of day." That night, Maya called. "I got something." My heart jumped. "What?" "The anonymous email account he used to threaten you? He registered it with a recovery phone number." She paused. "His phone number. He used his actual number." My hands steadied. All the shaking stopped. "Send me everything." I opened my laptop. There it was. Screenshots, records, a complete trail from the anonymous account back to Greg's phone. One mistake, one moment of carelessness, and it was going to bury him. My phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. "Last warning, back off or you'll regret it." I smiled. Actually smiled, because I had him now. Every piece of evidence I needed, every connection traced, every lie documented. Tomorrow I was going to HR with all of it. I typed back, "See you soon." Then I blocked the number. HR scheduled the meeting for 2 p.m. on Thursday. I showed up 15 minutes early with a folder thick enough to require a binder clip. Patricia from HR was already there. So was my boss. And sitting across from them, looking confused and slightly annoyed, was Greg. My heart stopped. He was wearing his interview suit, the charcoal one. His hair was styled. He looked like someone called in to discuss a job opportunity, not someone about to be confronted with evidence of harassment. His eyes met mine, and something flickered across his face. "Thanks for coming in, Greg," Patricia said smoothly. "We're investigating some complaints." "Complaints?" He leaned back, casually confident. "About what?" My hands were shaking. I pressed them flat against my thighs. Patricia slid a paper across. "These anonymous emails sent to HR. Do you recognize them?" Greg barely glanced. "No. Should I?" "They contain information only someone with inside access would know." "Okay." Greg spread his hands. "What does that have to do with me?" "The writing style matches your professional correspondence," my boss said. Greg's jaw tightened. "That's circumstantial." "True," Patricia said. "But then there's this." She slid the threatening text across. Stop digging or it gets worse. This was sent from an anonymous number, but the email account linked to it? Registered with your phone number as the recovery contact. Greg's face went pale, then flushed red. I don't know anything about that. Really? I spoke for the first time. My voice was steadier than I felt. The account was created the same day you sent me that email about Mr. Patterson, remember? The story I told you in confidence? His eyes snapped to mine. Cold. Angry. You're making this up. Am I? I pulled out my phone. Here's the email. Here's the timestamp. Here's the fake review you posted at 2:17 a.m. Here's the complaint about the Hendrix pitch, the one only 5 people knew about. And here's Mark's statement confirming he told you about it. Greg's face was purple now, that vein in his forehead throbbing. Mark has nothing to do with... Mark admitted to feeding you information, my boss cut in, said you told him you were worried about my mental health. I was worried, Greg's voice rose. We broke up and she just moved on like I meant nothing. Like 3 years was nothing. Got her promotion, got her perfect career, forgot I existed. The room went silent. So you decided to destroy her professionally? My boss's voice was ice. I decided to show everyone what she really is. Selfish, ambitious. She stepped on me and I... He stopped. Seemed to realize what he'd just said. His face drained of color. You just confessed to harassment, Patricia said quietly. In front of 3 witnesses. Greg looked around the room. At Patricia's expression. At my boss's disgust. At me with my folder of evidence and steady hands. This is bullshit, he said, but his voice cracked. You can't, she provoked me. Mr. Brennan, Patricia stood up, you've admitted to orchestrating harassment, fraudulent complaints, anonymous threats, manipulation of an employee. Our company will be filing a formal complaint with the police. We're also pursuing a restraining order. And if you come within 500 feet of this building, we'll have you arrested for trespassing. Greg stood so fast his chair scraped. You can't do this. I have rights. So does she, my boss said coldly. And you violated every single one. Security was already at the door, 2 large men in uniform. Mr. Brennan, we need you to leave. Greg looked at me one last time. His face twisted with rage and something that looked like desperation. This isn't over, he said. Yes, I said quietly. It is. Security escorted him out. The door closed. I sat there, hands finally starting to shake again as the adrenaline drained out. Patricia touched my arm gently. You did good. That took courage. My boss nodded. We should have listened sooner. I'm sorry. My throat felt tight. What happens now? Now? Patricia smiled grimly. Now he faces the consequences, and you get your life back. The restraining order was granted within 48 hours. I sat in the courthouse waiting room, watching Greg's lawyer argue that his client posed no threat, that this was all a misunderstanding blown out of proportion by an emotional ex-girlfriend. The judge looked at the evidence, the emails, the texts, the confession recorded in HR's meeting notes. Restraining order granted. Mr. Brennan is to stay 500 feet away from Ms. Chen, her workplace, and her residence. Violation will result in immediate arrest. Greg's face went white, then red. He started to say something, but his lawyer grabbed his arm, shook his head sharply. I walked out of that courtroom feeling like I could finally breathe. By Monday, everyone at work knew. Mark had been suspended for sharing confidential information, and apparently guilt made him chatty. I didn't know Greg was using what I told him, Mark said to anyone who'd listen. He played me. Sarah approached me in the break room that afternoon. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I'm sorry, she said quietly. About the presentation. I should have questioned why you'd suddenly step back. You should have asked me directly, I said. She flinched. I know. Greg made it sound like you were having a breakdown. I thought I was helping. My jaw clenched. By taking my work? I'm sorry, I should have known better. I wanted to stay angry, but she'd been manipulated too, just like Mark. Don't let someone else tell you who I am, I said finally. If you have questions, ask me. The real surprise came Wednesday. A woman I'd never met walked into our lobby and asked for me. My name's Amanda, she said when I came down. Mid-30s, well-dressed, nervous. I worked with Greg at Tech Venture. Can we talk? We went to the coffee shop across the street. I heard what happened, she said, and I need to tell you, you're not the first. My stomach dropped. He did this before? To me, 2 years ago? Amanda's voice was tight. We dated for 6 months. When I broke up with him, he started a campaign. Fake reviews, anonymous complaints. He even created fake social media accounts. My hands started shaking. What did you do? Nothing. I didn't have proof. And when I tried to tell people, they said I was paranoid. She looked ashamed. He destroyed my reputation. I ended up leaving. Amanda pulled an envelope from her purse. This is everything I kept from back then. Screenshots, emails, timestamps. I couldn't prove it was him at the time, but now, with your evidence and mine together? She slid the envelope across. This is a pattern. Make sure he can't do this to anyone else. I took Amanda's evidence straight to Patricia. This changes things, Patricia said. This isn't just harassment. This is a pattern spanning years. She picked up her phone. I'm calling our legal team and the police. With 2 victims and documented evidence, they'll take this seriously. My boss was there too. We're also blacklisting him from our industry contacts. Once they hear about this, he won't work in this city again. That night, I got a call from an unknown number. This is Detective Morrison with the police department. We've received your complaint regarding Gregory Brennan. I'd like to schedule a time to take your full statement. We're building a case for criminal harassment and stalking. Criminal charges, not just a restraining order. When do you need me? Tomorrow. And Ms. Chen, we've also been contacted by Amanda Torres. Between your evidence and hers, we have a strong case. After I hung up, I sat on my couch in the quiet of my apartment. For the first time in months, I wasn't looking over my shoulder, wasn't checking my phone for threatening messages, because Greg couldn't do anything now. He was cornered, exposed, facing consequences that would follow him for years. And I was the one who'd cornered him. 6 months later, my boss stopped by my desk. Got a minute? She was smiling. The board approved your promotion. Senior account manager. 20% raise. Your own team. My hands were steady. Thank you. You earned it. She paused. And Greg, court date's set for next month. The criminal trial was quick. Greg's lawyer tried to argue it was just a messy breakup, that emotions ran high, that his client made mistakes but didn't deserve criminal charges. Then the prosecutor presented the evidence. 2 victims. Years of systematic harassment, fake complaints, threats, manipulation of workplace contacts. The judge wasn't impressed. Mr. Brennan, you didn't just harass these women. You attempted to destroy their careers, their reputations, their sense of safety. This court takes such behavior seriously. Greg got 2 years probation, mandatory counseling, and a permanent restraining order. Any violation meant jail time. Your client is fortunate he's not facing jail time now, the judge continued. But this conviction will be on every background check, every job application, every professional reference for the rest of his life. I watched Greg's face crumble, all that smugness gone. Amanda squeezed my hand when the verdict came down. Thank you for finishing what I couldn't. Back at work, things returned to normal. Mark had been let go for sharing confidential information. Sarah kept her distance now, respectful distance. She'd learned not to believe gossip without verification. Jessica from accounting started inviting me to lunch again. I didn't know what to believe, she admitted. I'm sorry. My new team was solid. 3 people who actually respected my work. The fake reviews got taken down after I reported them with evidence of harassment. And the biggest change? I stopped looking over my shoulder, stopped checking my phone for threatening messages, stopped wondering what Greg would do next, because he couldn't do anything. The restraining order, the conviction, the industry blacklist, he was done. Patricia said it best. You stopped him. Other women won't have to go through what you and Amanda did. That thought made everything worth it. What would you do if someone tried to sabotage your career? Have you ever dealt with a vindictive ex? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. The next story is already waiting for you on screen. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.